Gauteng Education MEC Matome Chiloane has revealed that 9 out of 12 teachers with criminal records for sexual offences are still employed in schools despite a vetting process. 7 teachers work in primary schools while 5 are assigned to special schools. The MEC has also confirmed that over the past 3 years, 40 teachers have been convicted of sexual offences, with 1 still employed on a final written warning. Let's unpack the story further. We're joined this afternoon by the DA's Gauteng spokesperson for education, Michael Waters, and the spokesperson for the Education Labour Relations Council, Bernice Loxton. To both of our guests, thanks very much indeed for joining us. It's incredibly worrying, I'm sure both of you will agree, perhaps even more so because of these 2 cases that are in the country's courts at the moment, one unfolding in Matatiele, one in Hendrina, both involving alleged rape cases involving 6-year-old children. Michael, let's begin with you. We apologize. We're still trying to connect Michael to the conversation. Bernice Loxton, let's start the conversation with you then as the Education Labour Relations Council spokesperson. So 13 cases are before the ELRC. Investigations are ongoing. But why is it, in your opinion, that these teachers remain in class until investigations are finalized?
Good afternoon to you, Michelle, and to the viewers. Thank you for having me on your show. Speaking to the 13 cases that the ELRC, that was referred to the ELRC, we can confirm that of these cases, 9 cases are active cases. And we also have to clarify that these cases are from different financial years. Mm-hmm. One case is from the 2022-23 financial year. However, this case has been finalized. We are just awaiting the outcome of the case, which we should be receiving quite soon. We have another active case, which is from the 2023-24 financial year. And this is one case that has been postponed a number of times, and it speaks to the complex nature of these cases. Some of these cases are postponed due to a number of reasons. For this specific case, for instance, we've also noted this trend over the years where the alleged perpetrator, which is the teacher, will submit medical certificates, and this then causes delays in the case. So this is one reason for this specific case that has been continuously postponed. Other reasons attributed to the postponement of cases also include cases where the alleged perpetrator would make use of the services of a lawyer, for instance. And in terms of the law, we cannot restrict what kind of representation they get for themselves. So this also delays cases. And another reason would be the examination period where we are unable to schedule cases, as well as I mentioned, the complex nature of the cases that involves children. So children can break down during these proceedings, and that therefore requires that the cases are also postponed. So some of these reasons are attributed to the 9 active cases that we have. Two of the 11 cases are awaiting awards, which is the outcome of the case, which is similar to the 2022-23 case, which we will have soon. So of the 13 cases, 3 of these cases has been finalized. One thing that we want to mention is during these proceedings, what must happen when there's allegations that's submitted to the Provincial Department of Education, the teacher must immediately be placed on suspension. Mm-hmm. And this is to ensure that there is no further victimization for the child. So that is what is supposed to be happening.
Well, yes, I would think it goes without saying that that is what is meant to be happening. Bernice, just for some clarity, the 12 sexual offenders that have been hired by schools, 9 of them have yet to be dismissed. That figure that Matome Chiloane revealed while replying to questions by the DA in the legislature, those figures are just for Gauteng, right? And they are shocking enough, but they are just for Gauteng.
Yes, we can confirm that for Gauteng, we have 13 cases, and this is for Gauteng only.
And how many teachers are still in front of the blackboard as we speak? Of those 13 cases?
Like I mentioned, once we received it, the cases where the ELRC has to investigate, the teacher has to be placed on suspension by the Provincial Department of Education.
I see. So that's not your purview?
Yes.
And what does the picture look like in the rest of the country, Bernice? We've got 13 in Gauteng. Tell us about the other provinces.
For the financial year 1 April 2024 to end of March 2025, we received in total 111 cases that were referred. And in terms of the highest provinces, we have KwaZulu-Natal with 25 cases that were referred. For the Eastern Cape, we received 21 cases, and we mentioned the Gauteng number, which we also consider as high, with the Western Cape at 12 cases. So the provinces, the lowest referring provinces are Limpopo with 3 cases referred during that period, and Mpumalanga or the Northern Cape with 5 cases. So that is the picture in terms of the breakdown per province.
And is there a way where your organization, the Education Labour Relations Council, can expedite these cases? I mean, I know you've talked about things like the accused getting legal representation, the children who are making the allegations finding it difficult to give evidence in these proceedings. But surely there must be a way for the protection of the children and for future victims, for us to be able to streamline this so that we can get these teachers, if indeed they are guilty, out of the class and away from our children.
That is correct, Michelle, and we share the same sentiments. We want to ensure that these cases are finalized within the shortest period of time to ensure that the best interest of the child is upheld, as outlined in our constitution. We mentioned the challenges that we do encounter in handling these cases. What we've also noted is that most of these cases have to have more than one sitting. So ideally, we would like for it to just be one sitting and the case is finalized. However, the reality is that it will sit for multiple times and it might be concluded not within the year that it's referred, but in the next financial year, for example. What we endeavor to do on our side is to ensure that the child is not exposed to secondary trauma. And that is why we have the streamlined process that is in place. Once the department has done its internal investigation and submitted the case to the ELRC, we want to ensure that the teacher is not at the school where the child can then be further victimized. And once through our processes, the teacher is found guilty, we submit this award to the Department of Social Development to ensure that the teacher is placed in the child protection register, that they are deemed to be unfit to work with children. We also ensure that this award is submitted to SACE, where through their processes, if they find the teacher guilty, that they are struck off the roll. So these are the processes that we put in place to ensure that this teacher does not find themselves back into the system, and we are hoping for 100% compliance once the award is issued. We also submitted to the Provincial Department of Education, where their responsibility is to make sure that the teacher is blocked on per cell. So this is all the steps in place that we hope will deter teachers from committing these crimes. We see that it is still ongoing based on what has been in the news for the past few weeks. But we are glad that it's bringing to light what the picture is out there, and also the responsibility that is placed on the community to become aware of these cases, and also to not be fearful to report cases, even where a teacher is only suspected of sexual misconduct.
Right.
But we
I mean,
ask that.
I would argue that it's not our job to deter teachers, but rather to protect our children. And Michael Waters, if you are on the line to us, I know we've been struggling with our connection to you. He is the DA's education spokesperson in Gauteng. It's the job of the schools to make sure that the people they employ are allowed to be around children. Are we vetting these teachers at all?
Well, no, the vetting process has been dismal, to say the least, and good afternoon to you and your viewers. According to the Children's Act, every person that's working with a child has to be vetted before they sign their employment contract. This has not been happening, and in the Gauteng Education Department, for example, only 9% of teachers have actually been vetted against the Child Protection Register as well as the National Sexual Offences Register.
Sorry, Michael, can you repeat that number? What's the percentage of teachers that have been vetted? 9%.
9, yeah. And from that 9, 12 were found to have criminal records pertaining to sexual offences. So if you extrapolate that roughly, it would mean that there's about 120 teachers in Gauteng that have criminal records for sexual offences. And the longer we wait, the more danger we place children in.
I mean, I would argue that this lack of vetting makes the system complicit in what's unfolding in places like Matatiele in the Eastern Cape and Hendrina in Mpumalanga, where 2 6-year-old children are currently in the grips of court cases involving sexual assault.
Yes, exactly. The fact that, the HOD of the Education Department in Gauteng has not ensured that we comply with the Children's Act and we put children's safety before anything else makes him complicit. I agree with you. And it's gross incompetence on his part. And internal action needs to be taken against him and the relevant officials that have failed to vet these teachers before they were employed.
So what do we do from here, Michael, to ensure that when we send our children to school, that's the one place where we can assume that they are relatively safe, outside of a bump on the head or a scrape on the knee? Do we as parents need to request the list of teachers and do our own background checks?
No, you can't do your own background check. It's got to be done through the department. So, parents can raise their concerns in meetings at the school to ask whether or not the teachers have indeed been vetted and place pressure that way. What I've done, for example, I've written to the National Minister of Education to highlight the fact that there's 2 registers, which does make it cumbersome, and we should have one streamlined register. In addition, it costs the department 40 Rand for every application for vetting, which is punitive, to say the least. And when you're dealing with the Gauteng Education Department of over 80,000 teachers, it really starts piling up the cost in this regard. So it should be free because it is a statutory obligation that the department has to meet, and the process should be streamlined. And we need to ensure that, every department across the country, as far as education is concerned, health, social development, all the social workers, the police, for example, and any other public servant that deals with children needs to be vetted against the register as a matter of urgency.
Yeah. So really, it's up to parents and caregivers to ask the right questions in the right kind of forum.
Yes.
And then, Michael, the Gauteng Department of Education, according to reports, knows of 12 sexual offenders hired by schools. Even more disturbingly, if it's not disturbing enough, is that they work in primary schools and in special needs schools in Gauteng, and 9 of them have been convicted, but they have yet to be dismissed. What's the delay there?
Well, you ask me. I mean, the fact is, if someone's been convicted of a sexual offence, they should be dismissed immediately and have no access to children. And the fact that these people are preying on children at primary schools and schools of special needs shows the predator nature of these individuals, that they are going for children that cannot speak up and the most vulnerable in our society. And it is the responsibility of the department to protect children in that school. Yeah. And those teachers should be dismissed immediately.
And of course, it works in the favour of predators when these checks and balances are not done. Certainly a story we're going to be keeping our eyes on. The DA's Gauteng Education spokesperson, Michael Waters, thanks for your time. And then the spokesperson for the Education Labour Relations Council, Bernice Loxton, thanks for your time and your patience as well.